All right, Meaghan, we're here with the Ben Johnson, 763. I got it right, didn't I?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is right.
All right, Ben, you have made a lot of noise lately. We've had you on the show before, and people love you. And you've just done something kind of silly, and I think people want to know about it.
I did, yeah. Thanks for having me. So I think it was last summer when I last talked. So run a lot of stuff since then, which has been cool. I guess, yeah, if you have stuff to go through, feel free to kick it off here.
Well, in case people don't know what you just did, you just ran 4 marathons in 4 weeks. All very fast. But I would like to note, when I was writing down your times, I was like, wait, you ran your fastest one with me. That's pretty good.
I did. I did run the fastest one with you in Boston. I thought about that when I ran the last 2, whether or not I'd be able to beat that time. And I kind of set off with a pace where I thought maybe I could, but then I ended up not beating it. So you did have the fastest time.
Well, that's interesting. So we have 4 marathons. Let's start it off. We kicked it off with
Boston.
That was the first one?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's run them down.
Yep. So Boston, I was there, and I saw you guys there, which was great. And I got to run with Meg. That was awesome. I think that was always part of the plan. So I think that's one of the things that people always ask is like, what was in my head when I got into this spring, and kind of how did I end up where I ended up? I think we've talked about it a little bit. I tend to go in with the strategy of just sign up for everything and then I'll figure it out later. And I think this 4 weeks was one of the symptoms of that. I just kind of got into a lot of races, and I ended up kind of taking it one by one. So I guess the plan going in did definitely include Boston and London. So both of those being majors, and then trying to continue down that path towards the 6 stars. Wanted to do both. I think I realized somewhere in the last several months that it was a bit unfortunate that Boston's on Monday and then London is on Sunday. So that's even slightly less than a week in between the 2, but I did feel like definitely wanted to do London, and just Boston with you guys being there and with it being such a big race, definitely wanted to try to do that one. So Boston was the first one.
And that was 2:47:10, right?
Yep.
2:47:10. I think that one was definitely cool because I got to see so many people I knew like before at your shakeout run. I'd hang out with you guys, and then also at the race and just before the race, hanging out in the tent. I think that was a little bit different than I normally do. Usually when I'm out by myself, I'm kind of just wandering around alone, just seeing the sights. It was good to relax and just hang out under the tent with you guys and kind of mingle. It definitely made the time go by a lot faster. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Ben called me from his watch. I don't even know. He had like downloaded something to be able to talk to people. And he calls me from his watch so that we could find each other in Athletes Village in Boston. And I was like very skeptical that it was ever going to work out, that we were going to find each other, just because, there's 40,000 people out there.
But here's the other crazy thing. There was no phone signal at those tents. Like, I don't even understand how you got a phone signal, because we were trying to hook up with someone. My phone just didn't work.
His magic watch did it.
Yeah.
What's your carrier? Who's your carrier?
Definitely always tough to get signal there.
What?
It was on Verizon. So
Verizon? Okay. It might have helped.
Okay, so Boston, let's just run down them real fast. Boston, you ran 2:47:10, then a week or 6 days later, London Marathon at 2:55, then a week later, Eugene Marathon at 2:48, and then a week later, what is that?
Winnebago?
What is the last one?
Wobegon.
Lake Wobegon Trail.
Okay.
Lake Wobegon. That's from that PBS show or whatever. Like, don't they do a show from there?
It is, yeah. Something like that. But yes, it's pronounced the same.
That race looked like the complete opposite of what Boston is in every way.
Yep.
Except for the distance.
Pancake flat and completely straight.
Yeah.
And there's 200 to 300 people usually in that race. Definitely a very small town race. So it's going through the whole spectrum of huge races, some hilly races, and then some perfectly flat races. And also, kind of just all different types of weather. I think that was another thing that was a little bit new to me for this season, was getting to get into some really wet races, which something I didn't really like before, but I think now that I've done a couple of them here back to back, I've kind of figured out that it's not necessarily that big of a deal if it rains on race day.
All right, and Lake Wobegon, or the Wobegon Marathon, was last weekend, right? So you're here to announce big news to everybody that you are running a marathon this weekend.
That is not correct. So I will not be running a marathon this weekend. I'm taking a week off. Looking to it, I definitely did kind of in the last few weeks leave it very ambiguous on my Instagram of like, am I going to run one? Am I going to not? And I think that goes back into, I didn't really have this entire plan. It wasn't like I set out at the beginning of the year I was going to run 4 marathons in 4 weeks, and that was my goal. It was definitely the majors, the first 2, trying to make it through those. As of a few months ago, I had the plan to go out to Eugene, but I was not positive if I would even run the marathon there. So I didn't sign up until a few weeks before, where I decided I better keep my options open at least. And then I was just playing it by ear on how I would feel. And then I think maybe the craziest one in my mind, at least from my perspective, is that I signed up for the Wobegon Marathon back like last fall or last summer when they opened registration, because I knew it was flat and fast. And I, like I said, my theory is just sign up for everything and I'll figure it out later. And then when I was on the plane to go to Eugene, I was looking through my calendar and I noticed, oh, look at that, I'm actually signed up for a marathon next week as well. So up until that point, my whole mind was around like, how am I going to survive 3 marathons in 3 weeks? And then once I got, and I hadn't even run the third one yet, once I got it back into my head of, well, I have another one signed up another week from now, it shifted back to, well, now I got to think about, let's try to survive this one and see how I feel going into the next one. And
so
fortunately, it all worked out.
Were you excited to run Wobegon, or were you like, just another marathon I signed up for, I might as well run it?
No, I was excited. I think I did, as I got farther through the week after week marathons, I liked the challenge that I was continuing to push myself. And I think the part that made me really optimistic is that I kept feeling like better, I'd say, much better than expected. That was my biggest fear going into that. And it's like, even especially after Boston, I felt pretty beat up. And I think that's always the case for me in Boston, just because I don't run enough hills. Yeah, I was definitely feeling beat up after Boston. Going into London, even partially through the race, didn't feel that great. Took it out pretty slow, or pretty comfortable, at least for my fitness level where I was at, but just the legs did not feel like they were coming back. But then finished super strong on London, felt great at the finish line. And then really, I think that revitalized me, I guess, going into the last couple, where I was optimistic. Like I didn't feel like it was a grind that I was just going through these additional marathons. Like my legs felt good going into Eugene all the way through. And then it kind of was the same thing, just taking it easy and then seeing how I would feel kind of come Tuesday, Wednesday, the week after, before I really, mentally committed to running Wobegon. But again, that one felt great, and it was a ton of fun to run again.
I mean, that's a testament to your strength training, but I want to take you back to London real quick, because we ran London last year and I thought it was a phenomenal course. Like I felt like, oh yeah, you'll never be able to top London. And then I was like, well, Japan was pretty rad. And then I was like, Boston was insane. And I want to know, like, what was your thoughts on the London course? Like it was, did you enjoy it as much as we did?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved going through kind of the bigger parts of town. I think to me, it felt like Boston and New York are almost like one thing after another constantly. There was a couple spots in London, like at the beginning, and then kind of as it looped around in one of the middle sections that were a little bit more out into the, open areas, or some of them were more industrial. But there was definitely a few spots in town, like across Tower Bridge and kind of definitely coming up near the end through town and through some of the underpasses before you came up to Big Ben, that were just amazing crowd support, amazing amount of spectators and cheering along the sides. And one thing I really liked about London, which seemed interesting or unique from the majors, is that there is a bit of an out and back section, so you actually get to see other runners. And I think Tokyo does that too with some of the out and backs. But it was cool
a lot.
Yeah, when I ran when I ran out, I saw the elite women coming in, and then when I ran back, I saw a lot, like just huge masses of other runners, and that was cool to kind of feed off their energy, not running back the other way.
I used to think I didn't like out and backs. The experiences I've had, especially in Tokyo, I really think it's a fun way to run a marathon because you can, like, if I knew you were running, I'd be one of those in the masses coming up and looking on the other side for Ben and Meaghan to come running by. Because if I'm there, Megan's probably there.
Okay, you wore Vaporfly 3s for every single one of these marathons.
Not the same pair, though.
No, different color. But in the past, or in the, like, let's say the past year, you mostly have been doing all your marathons in the Alphafly 2. So what made you switch to the Vaporfly 3?
I just love the fit on the Vaporfly 3. I feel like it was such a big change from the Vaporfly 2 from an underfoot feel that it's so much closer to the Alphafly. Like it's almost the in between the two, and then pair that with the fit and the lightweight is what definitely I'm preferring on that side. I've always felt like the prior Vaporflies were a little bit maybe too firm or not quite enough at the end of the marathon, and that's where the Alphafly really showed its benefit. But then with the new Vaporfly 3, I feel like it has the cushion to go the full distance, and it's just so much lighter and so much more comfortable. I think that was one of my other concerns. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say the shoe has not gotten enough credit for it. Seems like minor updates, but the fit of the upper and just that little bit of tuning to the Zoom X, a little less rubber underneath the foot really makes that shoe sing.
Yeah, I agree. It's like all the small things adding up. I was going to mention that I kind of always have in the back of my head, especially doing these back to back. If you even get a little bit of a hot spot or a blister or something that just pops up on your foot, that can just be killer because that won't be gone by the next week. And that's kind of that same of like you can go week after week and just like get into a terrible spot where it's just uncomfortable all the time. I had absolutely none of that with the Vaporfly. Like it. I think just how the toe box fits my foot and like the arch is a little bit less prominent, that like my feet felt perfect the whole time. And that to me helped a lot where you can, then you stop focusing on like, how is my foot hitting the ground and how do I avoid like hitting this hot spot and those kind of things. It just was much more natural to run all the races.
And you had how many colors? You had the white one, 4. The pink one.
Yep. I had 4.
What's the one I'm missing?
There's an
orange,
there's
pink,
an orange
proto.
One. It's like a Volton orange.
Wait, there was a.
Yeah.
Okay, which is your favorite one?
I think I like the pink one. It stands out the most. I think that's the most colorful one. And I mean I like the bright colors, especially pink. I think really pops.
It pops, and people have pushed back on the colorway, but I think when you see it in person, you see it on feet. They do a great job of like when we were at Boston, that shoe just stood out. Like when you saw it, especially in the rain-soaked cement, bright pink popping off it. It was nice.
One thing, I think I was messaging you about this too. The Alphafly has the pod in the front, and I feel like when you're in the really late miles of the marathon and your form's breaking down and you feel like trash, like there's something about those pods that just like brings your feet to life and you feel like you can rely on the shoes. And that was my concern with switching to the Vaporfly. Did you feel like that was not an issue?
I didn't feel like it was an issue. To me, I think it's more like the shape of the toe. That's where I feel like the Vaporfly 3, the toe shape to me feels more like the Alphafly, just a little bit more like under the ball of your foot and a little bit less of a steep toe off compared to like the Vaporfly 2 and the original Next Percent. And to me, I think that's where like if I land right on the ball of my foot and it has a lot underneath my foot, I think that's like the Alphafly type feel, and that felt really good. And I guess the other thing I tried to focus on is really just keeping my form together in the later parts of the races and trying to really like not compensate for things. I feel like that's where I get into really big trouble is like when I get a little bit tired or a little bit more sloppy and I'll start getting landing on different parts of my foot, and that's when I start feeling things like in my knee or my hip or my Achilles, and trying to avoid that and keeping it on the ball of the foot helped a lot.
Okay, so did you carb load for every single one of these?
Kind of, sort of, I guess. It was definitely tough traveling and trying to eat. I think that was one of the other things that I reflected back on is like I didn't eat at home like for weeks at a time, and it was all just going out to eat and eating what was available. I think for the most part, I did try to have some kind of pasta the day before. I have gotten into the routine with just my normal day before morning of involves a lot of Martin. So I'll do no matter what I eat for dinner the night before the race, I will come back before bed and have a Martin 320. And then I have been doing what's the name of that electrolyte one that Meaghan was suggesting to have the night before that has like a
Scratch, hyperhydrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, now it's called
high sodium.
High sodium.
But it's Scratch.
Okay. Yeah, hyperhydration. So I do a Martin 320 and I do a hyperhydration the night before, and then I wake up and what I have been doing now. And
both?
Yeah, both.
Peeing yourself is what you're doing when you wake up.
yeah, some of that.
That's like 32 ounces right before bed, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to eat dinner at like maybe 5, and then I'll start in at like 6 o'clock and have one, and then 7 o'clock I'll have one, and hopefully not wet the bed by the time I go to sleep.
It's a gamble.
Yeah, it's a gamble. So I have been doing in the morning. Then I've been doing the Martin bicarb. So I did that for all 4 of these races. I've gotten a ton of questions on that system. It is a bit interesting. I don't know if you guys have tried it, but it is a very different texture to try to consume.
I'm going to say
it looks like soup.
It kind of does. So I think the consistency is somewhere in between the Martin drink mix and the Martin gel. So it's kind of like jelly, but pretty liquidy.
It's like tapioca pudding.
A little bit, but I think the worst part about it is then you pour in a bunch of these little pellets, which are like the sodium bicarbonate, but they're in tiny little pellets, and it says not to chew them. So it's like you're kind of slurping on this goop with little bits of stuff in it, and you're supposed to just gulp it down.
And this is for 1%, possibly 1% improvement.
Yeah. Yep. And I think
that doesn't seem.
I can understand if you're going for a PR, but like you were clearly not. You were pacing me in Boston. You were doing 4 marathons in 4 weeks. So why? Because there's like potential very bad side effects.
Well, yeah, from like I feel like the side effect I would be concerned about is the GI issues. I had tried it quite a few times in training and had no issues. I think that's one of the other things I've noticed is I typically don't really have issues with that. I think consider myself lucky so far. I feel like I can eat just about whatever I want and be fine. So I wasn't too concerned about that. And then I think it was like, why not at that point? I think the other part I read, and maybe this was partially marketing and partially just how Martin is interpreting some of these studies, it does potentially supposedly have some benefits to recovery. So I think that was the other thing that I was just interested, especially doing the back-to-back, if it could help at all. And I think like it has a ton of sodium. So I feel like if it's a 12-hour release of a bunch of sodium throughout the day, that could just help my hydration and recovery from that standpoint.
Okay, quick question for you. Well, it's actually now you just gave me 2 questions. So are you purchasing the Martin or are they sending you Martin?
No, I'm just purchasing it.
Okay, wow. Okay, so an extra budget for the family, and second mortgage on the house. The second thing is we had talked on the show about you taking sodium during races with the Martin gel, and the whole point of the Martin gel is so that the casing goes into your intestines, so it gets down to the small intestines and releases there. I'm guessing these little pellets do the same thing, so it's having those pellets. What they're trying to do is bypass some digestion to get you to a place where hopefully these things will have the greatest effect. So with it having high sodium, and they know you're taking Martin at the same time and breaking it down, there's no problem with it then, because I'm guessing that when these release or when these digest, it's already in the small intestines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we had I think I talked to Meaghan about that a little bit, of the mix of sodium with the Martin gel reduces the hydrogel effect. And I guess, yeah, that kind of goes with my theory. If Martin's supposedly figured out how to get sodium bicarbonate through with their hydrogel, to me, that's like a green light to that's, good to use with the other Martin products, and it shouldn't have any GI issues.
It'd be so interesting if they could test you. I feel like you'd be a great test subject for them.
Yeah.
Because you seem to not.
You an alien.
No, I'm saying because, Ben, not everybody's going to be able to ingest this stuff and have no side effects. Plus, you don't seem to be affected by, like, I get fatigue from Martin product, just like putting those gels in my mouth after a while. I just don't like it. You seem to be able to handle, and not that I think Morton is a great product and I love it, but like I just can't ingest the amounts that you ingest. I think that you would be someone they should probably stick a probe in.
Okay, so you're not only having that in the morning. So you're doing 320 and scratch the night before. You're bicarbonate in the morning. Are you also doing 320 in the morning?
Yep, I also do a 320 in the morning. And now that I've started with the bicarb, I'm not doing any other electrolytes in the morning. So it's just the bicarb system, and then the normal 320, and then I go into whatever's in my kit list. So usually it'll be at least one bottle of 320 calf mix. So I hand carry the bottle and I throw the bottle, and then usually somewhere between 6+ gels. So I think it's very convenient when, like, Boston has Martin on course. You can just add on as pretty much as many as you need. With the other races, I'm definitely trying to carry at least 6, just to make sure I have enough fueling.
That's insane too, though, because you're supposed to take it every 30 minutes or so, right? Or every 5K, depending on how you want to look at it. How many Mortons are you actually taking during a race?
You said 6.
Are you taking 6 or carrying 6?
I think sometimes I'll have one left. Sometimes I'll take 6. I think I've taken more than 6. Like last year at Boston or whatever the hot year was, I took a bunch more just because I thought it might help. I don't know if it really did, but definitely at least 6. I feel like I try to take them every couple of miles, so it's more like every 2 to 3 miles. It's definitely not half an hour. I take more often than that. Like I'll probably try to take at least 3
I gotta try that. So when you're doing training runs, are you doing every 2 miles or so?
I usually don't fuel my training runs very often. So I've learned over time throughout the marathons that I haven't had any issues with that, but I'm definitely not fueling training runs like that.
You're not fueling for a 22-mile long run at all?
Like I'll do the bottle of 320 and then I'll throw it.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess during the race,
you were going out there with just some water.
When you say you throw a bottle, like what do you put in the 320 in?
Like a Bite water bottle, like just a 17-ounce one, half-liter one. Yeah. I was also going to mention one of the other things I'm really conscious about trying to do is drink at every station and drink whatever electrolyte drink they have and whatever water they have. So at every station, I'm trying to grab one from the first person and one from one of the people near the end and try to get at least one sip of fluid from each one of those. And I think that helps because I think that was kind of starting off. I hated drinking from the cups, and I would just skip so many water stations and end up not drinking nearly as much as I should have. So I've learned to try to just do it every time, no matter how I feel.
Dude, you got to be the fastest guy who's stopping at every table and having Mortons every 2 miles. Like that's a lot. You get rid of that, you're sub 2 hour.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do notice it's way easier to fuel when I'm running even just a little bit slower. Like if I'm running 10 minutes off PR pace, it's kind of like I can just do whatever. If I'm running all out, it gets to be very tough.
Okay. Were you doing anything? And then there's a million questions here that I wrote from your Instagram, and we'll start hitting some of those. But knowing that you were doing at least 3 in a row, were you very conscious after the marathon to get in protein and stuff? Like, how did you recover?
Yeah, I mean, not
not any different than normal. I think that I usually do a pretty good job of that, so I'll try to eat right afterwards as close as I can. I think definitely one thing that I feel like helps my recovery a lot is I pretty much stopped drinking. So I drink very rarely. So I didn't drink at all over this period. I haven't drank for quite a long time. So I do think that helps where if I just focus on getting in fuel and getting in liquids after the race. That always helps a lot. Again, definitely, I think Boston ends up being, and maybe all the majors, but the bigger races, logistically, it just ends up being so hard trying to get food and everything sorted out after the race. It can be an hour or a couple hours. So I'll try to eat whatever is in the bag of stuff that they give, and then I'll just go from there.
You said goodbye to me after Boston, and then like 5 minutes later, I ran into your wife and children, and I was like, no, Ben just left. But it was like pouring down rain, so I think I didn't really say anything that made any sense.
No, that was inconvenient because it probably was at least half an hour before I saw them after that, so I probably should have just walked the other direction. And it rained a ton, so what I actually hopped onto one of the school buses that was sitting there and just sat in there while the rain just poured down, and my family tried to make it through all the different lines and barricades that were up before we could meet.
One of the warming buses, because some lady, it was like pouring down, and she was like, "Coming to the warming bus," and I was like, "What is this? I'm just trying to get to my hotel."
Mine was actually a bag check bus. I think I might have missed the warming buses. I got down to like the very last bus before I would have just had to like leave the athlete area and be off on my own. And there was just volunteers standing inside there ready to hand out bags, and I just asked them if I could stand inside the bus.
I love it. It's awesome. Okay, here are some of the several million questions you got on Instagram when you asked what people wanted to know. So on a scale of 1 to 10 effort-wise, how was it for each of these marathons?
Maybe an 8, maybe less than an 8. I'm not sure. Usually I guess I feel like a marathon, even if you're going hard, should feel easy for the first half, at least, probably the first 20 miles. So these all felt very comfortable the first half, other than London where it felt a little bit like wobbly in my legs, but aerobically I felt fine. I think all of them I sped up at the end. So London I sped up a bunch, and then both Eugene and Lake Wobegon I sped up a little bit at the end. So then I feel like it gets up into that 8-9 kind of effort range when I'm just closing out a few hard miles. But always interesting for me to reflect back on, like, even when I pick up the pace at the end and those last couple miles are a lot faster than the original ones, that's like probably more like my marathon pace actually is. So it kind of is a perspective that I definitely couldn't have run them all at PR type pace. There's just no way that would be realistic.
Does running these at a pretty quick pace make you want to go after a PR and just focus on like one race in the fall?
I think so. So I'm signed up for a bunch of races in the fall. Again, I think to me, one of the huge factors, and maybe this is just a mental thing, is I think the weather plays a huge role. So course profile, hilliness is tough. So I knew Boston wasn't going to be good for me, at least this spring. But in the fall, I have Berlin and Chicago, which are both pretty fast. And then I'm also signed up for Indy. So again, it's like I'm kind of trying to feel out what the weather is going to be like and where I would like to focus my efforts. But I've gotten that question a few times of like, do I want to try to PR at some point? And I think, definitely the answer is yes. I just need to try to get the timing right and get myself into the right shape at the right time.
So I heard Indy in there, and I saw a little smirk on Meaghan's face. You love Indianapolis, Meg.
That's a good one.
When is that one located?
It's actually weird. It's normally the first weekend in November, and this year it's early. It's the last weekend in October. So you're signed up for Chicago, Berlin, and Indy, but if one of them is like, well, I'm assuming you're definitely going to Berlin, but let's say Indy is super hot or Chicago is super hot, are you still going to run it?
Probably. I'm also signed up for New York as well, so I think with the majors, we're pretty much at the point we have to commit to getting all the logistics figured out and hotels booked and all that kind of stuff. So I think if I decide to do those three, I would be doing those three. Indy feels like maybe the more tough one to decide. So maybe we should talk more about what your plans are there and if I can fit into those somehow. But I think they're kind of spread out at least
now,
1 week off. I was saying I think with those races in the fall, they're not all back to back. So I do feel like just with what I've done this spring, I feel like I could be in kind of, reasonable shape for all of them.
I'm going to lobby for New York because we're going back. And I just think it makes sense. I know that you can't officially participate in everything, but it's always fun.
Yeah.
The good news is Berlin is your first one. So I feel like that would be a great race, PR, and then you can, go have fun at all the other ones.
You mean pace you in Chicago for an OTQ?
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions on here was, would love to know, and I think there was a typo or something, if you're going to pace Meaghan for her fall marathon in Chicago. So are you doing that? We would like to
know. Who wrote this one?
Yeah, I like the idea that I think that's kind of where my head's at. Berlin probably would be my plan to try to PR at that one, pending the weather. If the weather's good, I would just send it on that one and see kind of where I feel afterwards. But like I said, I think there's a couple weeks. So I guess I'm optimistic, even if I did a really hard one in Berlin, that I might be in kind of shape to do something similarly or close to, a hard effort like that for Chicago or one of the other ones after that. But yeah, Berlin is not good weather. I would imagine I'd still run it just with, want to go try to run all the races. Probably wouldn't run it quite as hard. And then definitely would be in for trying to do something fun in Chicago.
I like it. Okay, this person said, impressive 2 hours and 52 minutes for your first marathon, only after 9 months of training. Were you an athlete growing up?
Yep, I was not. So I did some sports back in like elementary. I did kind of like the community ed. In high school, the only sport I did that would be like an endurance sport was swimming. So I swam, I think, in 9th and 10th grade, and then decided I didn't like swimming anymore, and I did diving, and I also did golf after that, which obviously I don't think either of those are going to impact my running ability. And then, like 20 years, 15 years, I didn't do any type of sports at all. So I didn't have a big background in sports that I leveraged off for my training.
You're gonna have to post your pre-Ben running photo and post-running Ben photo again.
Yeah. Yeah, my weight went up and down a little bit there, so it wasn't like I was just an athlete the whole time. I picked it up.
Okay. Did you treat these marathons as your long run? It's hard to recover for 4 weekends in a row, and the pace is significantly slower than your PB. Did you plan this pace for all 4 of them? Kind of talked about it, but
significantly slower. I wouldn't say it's significant.
It's 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's about 10 minutes. I didn't really know. I didn't have a good plan for what my pace should be. So I knew the first one. I knew the pace you wanted to run, so I was planning to run with you. And go with that. And then beyond that, everything was just completely up in the air. And that's where I was so unsure going into London. I picked up with the 3-hour pace group and just ran with them because I figured I could, see how it went. And if it was just completely blowing up, slow down. And if it felt good, I could speed up. So then I sped up at the back end of London. And then again, even on Eugene and Wobegon, I think it was like the morning of, I was still up in the air of like, well, how fast am I going to run? I guess I'll just start running and see how I feel, and then go from there. I think kind of once I got into it and I was somewhere around that 250 type average, I was kind of trying to keep it around there. So that's where I ran Eugene and Wobegon right about 250 pace and then sped up a little bit at the
end. What do you think was most important or contributed most to your fast recovery? Sleep, nutrition, whatever?
Probably both of those. I don't think there's any other magic bullet beyond those two things. Like I said, the travel after Boston was really tough to recover. I think that with the time change and all of that, just felt off. for the longest period after the race. I think the other one that did pop into my mind as I went from Boston to London is that normally I like to do a pretty decent amount of foam rolling, and I didn't have a foam roller, so I felt really tight in my legs and my back the first couple of days after Boston. And then when we got to the expo in London, I'm like, I'm buying a foam roller. So I usually never buy anything at the expos. Went and just found cheap foam roller, bought that, brought it back to the hotel, and that helped loosen things up a lot. And then I think another good thing on London is that I got a massage right after the race. It kind of just hit the tight points mostly just within my calves. And then I felt like that loosened me up quite a bit. And then it was a little bit easier with Eugene. I brought a foam roller. I learned from my mistakes last time, so I was able to do that. And then Wobegon was local here in Minnesota, so that recovery was a lot easier there.
At the London Marathon, you jumped on the Eliud Kipchoge treadmill, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's insane. See, that's insane. Knowing that I just ran a marathon, I won't get on that thing the day before a marathon because I'm worried I'll blow a leg out.
Yeah. And they don't give you any warm up either. It's like you walk up there and a guy pushes a button and it just starts flying away, and you gotta keep up or you fly off the back.
How long did you last?
They let you go for 400 meters and then it stops. So I made it through the 400 meters, and that was enough for sure.
That's funny. They let you go that far.
I wouldn't want to go 400. I would run and then do the.
Do people not make it to the 400?
Yeah.
Okay.
People tuck and roll and slide off the back.
Okay. I know the answer to this one, but did Nike find you or did you reach out to Nike?
That is a good one. Nike had difficulty finding me, and then they found Meaghan, and Meaghan put me in touch with them. So thank you to Meaghan for passing on the information. I think you will find that Nike is very hard to get a hold of, and it kind of is just a matter of when they want to reach out to you to make that connection.
I forget the exact way that it happened. Did they shoot us an email and ask us, hey, can you get us in touch with Ben?
Yeah. And I was like, Ben, will you allow this?
Yeah, I think you sent me one that was like, I'm like, at least 80% sure this is not a scam. So do you want me to send him your email information?
Yeah. Okay. In the beginning of your running, did you ever have trouble finding the motivation to go for a run? What pushed you to go out and do it? It's always fun seeing you at local races. You look like you're having a blast.
I haven't really had any issues with motivation. I think I'm one that is very intrinsically motivated, I guess, in terms of looking at what I want to do, and then creating the process to get there. So definitely early in my running kind of journey, I was very focused on the times and the distances and what I wanted to do, and that really motivated me to continue. I think it was pretty quick to see results and see how quickly I could see improvements if I just stuck with it, and that motivated me to keep going.
You also seem like someone where once you go in on something, you go like all in on something.
Yeah, I get pretty committed to things and pretty dedicated. So usually it's not like I don't wake up every morning and be like, well, should I run today or should I not run today? It's always like, yep, I'm just gonna go for my run.
I mean, it also helps that you are constantly, with the new shoes and the new kits, like it makes it fun to get out there and you want to get out. And I'm guessing that having the outlet of Instagram is a fun way for you to share. Like, it's not like you feel like you're running by yourself. It's like you share it with everyone, right?
Right. Yeah. That definitely is a big part of it. It's not like I'm just, putting on the same pair of shoes and just trudging out, through the trail in the dark. It's always something I'm kind of thinking about many different things, just with, like you said, the social media aspect as well as the equipment and the gear. And that's definitely something that's always been interesting to me, is the shoes and the technology and how it's applied. And to me, that's really interesting that you be able to try out different things and interact with different people.
Someone said it looks like your fastest and slowest times were in the Alpha Fly, which is Mike Kafuzzi who has your slowest time in the Alpha Fly, right?
Yeah. Yep. I think that's true. He took that title away from you of my longest run duration of all time.
I love that. I do. And then for a hot second there, you wore the New Balance RC Elite. Like that was your shoe choice. But then that was gone, and now we're all Nike all the time.
Well, yeah, that's why it's gone.
Yeah, I think that was a comfortable shoe. I think there's faster shoes, I guess, out there. But then the comment on the times and correlating that to which shoe is faster, to me, that's not valid. Definitely because some of these I was pacing someone else or not giving a PR type effort. But then I think it's just the weather and the course and all the other things that, to me, there's almost no comparable races where I can just say this shoe is 1 minute faster than this shoe. I think that is one thing that I have.
I'm gonna put it out there. Like Ben, I think you'd run the same pace if I put you in a pair of 990s, some style shoes as you would in the Alpha Fly. It may not feel as good at the end, but I feel like you'd still have the same time. I think you're one of those guys that you have preferences for the shoe, but you're fast. You're going to run fast in pretty much anything.
Yep. I think it's helped me mentally switching around different shoes and still being able to run a similar time, because I do think there was kind of that period where the Alpha Fly was kind of just the security blanket of this is going to be the shoe I'm always going to pick because it's like the one I'm going to race in. Once I got past that and realized there's other fast shoes, new models are going to come along that are fast. That's where Alpha Fly 2 again ran just as fast in that one as the other one. So I think that that's helped me realize that it's not just all in one shoe. Any comment on that, Meaghan?
My Alpha Fly 1 safety blanket. Thank you very much. I'm very good with that one. Okay, do you rock the insoles that come in the shoes or switch them out?
I use the standard insole in all of my shoes. I think that one might have been pointed towards the Alpha Fly 2. I think that's the only one where I've had any type of hot spot. And I made a post where there's a product called an Engo patch that I've applied to the insole of that shoe, kind of just where the arch meets the front of the foot. It's just a really low friction surface, and it completely removes that hot spot. But that's the only shoe where I've tried that. All of the other race shoes, just the standard insole. So I guess same with the training shoes as well, standard insole.
I love this question. It says, the background of the smile and wave, please discuss.
There is no real background other than I like to run, and I like to enjoy myself while I'm out running, and waving at other people usually gets a positive reaction out of them. So I'm happy to go along and wave at people. And I waved at a lot of extra people during the Believe in the Run wave campaign that you guys had going. But that was mostly on training runs, and I don't see very many people on training runs.
I love that. We were influential. Okay, yeah. Do you think the frequency of marathons has limited your potential to drop your time, or is 2:38 right around your cap?
I think it's definitely limited my chances at going for a PR because I've, made the decision not to do that this spring. So I think that could definitely be limiting me in terms of what times I'm able to run. I don't know. I don't feel like it's necessarily held me back overall from being able to improve in the future. It's not like it's dug myself a big hole that I'm going to have to try to get out of. I do think I feel like I still have some potential to go a little bit faster, so I want to keep trying that.
For me, the last few marathons, because I can't recover as quick as you can, but like the last, I did, several in a row, not within a week, but tight turnarounds for me. And I found that slowing down and running with other people was actually more fun than going for a PR. Like as a matter of fact, even at Boston, there was a chance to just like finish out a little bit stronger. But the idea of running with someone else and helping them get to the finish strong was a lot more fun, and it's going to make the race a lot more memorable. And so I've always just looked at what you're doing. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but you tell me that it's fun to run with people and then have that shared experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's way more fun and way more rewarding to be able to share it with someone else, and then also I think really enjoy it and be present in the moment. I think that's the hard part with running a tough race. Some of the really hard ones, it's like I'll look back and I don't even remember the last 10 miles. Like I could have seen all the most amazing sights in the world and I don't remember any of them because it was just a grind out to the finish. Where run it a little bit slower and you can take it all in, you can wave at every single person, and you can be high-fiving and having a good time along the way. So that's definitely more fun. And I think to me, like I sign up for a lot of these races, and I'm not the one to, I guess, attach myself to the result too strongly. So I think that's where, even if I'm only signed up for one race and I think it's going to be a PR attempt type race, if I wake up and it's 75 degrees out, I'm not going to just go out and still try for a PR and have a terrible day. I think I would be very, willing and mentally able to just kind of set myself up for this is what I think is the right thing to do for the day. And sometimes that means it's not a PR day. And then I shift my focus to how can I make it as enjoyable, as fun, as memorable as possible, even if I'm not going to run a new PR time that I'm going to put into my Instagram header title that I haven't changed in 2 years.
I think that's such a healthy and smart way to go into these races, because we get so in our heads, and but if you do train for 6 months for a specific time goal and you get to race day and it's 75 degrees out, it's really hard to be like, okay, that's fine, let me just pull it back. Like most of us just are like, yeah. I've been doing this, I've been training this hard, I'm going for it anyway, even if I blow up at mile 20. So I think your strategy is probably way more intelligent.
I think it leads to more...
The most intelligent.
It probably leads to more happiness. I don't know that it leads to faster times. I think that's always, I'm always willing to just let it go.
Hence the smile and wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the next question, Meg?
I really like this one. Is being a running influencer your main source of income? How did that develop? And is it enough to pay the bills?
It is not. I have a job, so I think you guys have found it's sometimes tough to find time on the schedule. I do work full-time in medical device manufacturing, so I'm an engineering background. I work with a group of engineers on the manufacturing side. So I work at Boston Scientific in Minnesota, and it is pretty engaging job. Keeps me pretty busy, and definitely not social media as my main source of income. And I think the other thing is that's never been my goal, and that's maybe somewhat different than other people that are out there. There's definitely people that take it as a full-time job, and they probably do a better job of content creation, or at least put more time and structure into it than me. This has always been something that I enjoy, and that's the reason that I keep doing it. And I also think that's the reason why I find it so easy. Like to me, this is not like thinking of new things as like a new grind or something that I have to commit myself to. It just comes natural because I think it's something that's fun to do.
I like it. Now, if it's fun to do and you can get paid, that's even better. So that's what's great about the Dick's Nike contract for you. So,
yep.
Let's keep that rolling.
Okay. Oh, I like this one. Any interest in stepping into the ultra world ever?
Not really. So I've had that question a couple times, and I'm not sure what it is, but it doesn't have a big draw to me. I think maybe some of it is I guess most ultras are on the trail. I really never run on the trail. Maybe it's just that I'm bad at running on trails. I'm not really sure, but I don't enjoy it to the same extent. And then I don't know. I guess mentally that's not where I am. I still enjoy running marathons. I do really like some of the big races, and I think that's pretty unique to the marathon distance. And I'd say that's really where my focus or enjoyment is right now, especially trying to get through the majors, the 6 stars.
What about doing the Disney challenge where you do the 5K, 10K, half marathon, all in like 3 days? Yeah, weekend.
Maybe.
And you've got daughters; they probably love that.
It would. That would be a good vacation. It has come up in passing a couple of times talking through it, but not high on the list. But I definitely wouldn't rule that one out.
All right, we interviewed a woman who won cleared the weekend. And by the way, if you do that, you get a lot of press. So think about that. And then you get a little tattoo of all the races. So I know that you're like, people don't know this about you, but when you take off your shirt, you're covered like a sailor. So with tattoos. What was your first tattoo?
I'll pass on that question.
He has no tattoos, people. Okay, what are your short and long-term goals?
I still want to
5Ks have and marathons.
Yeah. I want to have fun with it. I don't think I have a long-term plan in terms of like either my times or my social media aspect. I think really is just about having a good time. I do want to try to run a faster race at some point, and I want to try to get the majors done. But beyond
6 stars.
that, I don't. Yep, I don't have any specific.
What about
goals laid out.
I mean, you're crunched out. You've already got 4 marathons this year. Like I'm kind of now. I'm my next marathon will be my 40th. That's a humble brag. But like 50 is now like something I'm like, well, as long as I'm this close, I might as well keep going. You, of all the people I know, are probably the fastest ramping up of getting there, like not doing like 50 marathons in 50 days, but just naturally like doing races, gathering them up. Is there any number that you think would be like fun to get to, or is that not in your thoughts at this point?
I haven't really thought about that too much. I will clarify, I haven't run 4 marathons this year. I also ran Houston and Donna, so I've run 6 marathons this year. So it's going to probably be a pretty large number of races this year. But I don't have any specific number.
I forgot about those. That didn't even feel like this year.
You were at both of those.
I know, but it just seems that if you told me Donna Marathon and you told me that happened this year, I have to actually think about it.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, that was the other 4 marathons ago.
I enjoyed hanging out with you in Houston. So I probably cut you off while you were talking. So there's no real goal for hitting a certain number, but like, what are you at right now?
17 marathons so far.
In how many years?
3.
4 years.
4. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you're racking them up there pretty quick.
Yep.
All right. I know we're running out of time here. So is there let me see if there's anything that was really.
People want to know about your dogs.
My dogs?
Yeah. Like, how do you do so many marathons with dogs?
What?
That is
not a question that anyone asked. Yeah.
I have one dog, and we've had good luck finding people to watch him so far.
Okay, I think you already answered this one, but I just want to know, let's clarify. What is the goal for Berlin? What's the A goal?
I think I'm still kind of stuck on run at 6-minute pace and hope for the best, which puts me pretty much right with the OTQ women. So I think that has kind of been my goal for quite a while, and it's just super convenient that if I run a big race, there's just a giant pack of people also running at that same pace. So for now, that's where my head would be at. And the other thing is I've run some of these shorter races, and so far I've seen no like breakout results that would say that I'm much more fit than I have been, that I should be going for 235 or a 230 or anything much faster. I think I'm still pretty much in that same fitness range, that around that 236, 237 seems like a reasonable place to be.
That does bring up a question though. If you can consistently hit the OTQ time for women, would that be something, since you enjoy pacing, would that be something that you would enjoy doing and becoming maybe almost like, because you can get paid to be a pacer for that kind of thing. Is that something that you would look into?
Yeah, I think pacing is super fun. I would definitely be interested to do that. I feel like I would need to be quite a bit faster to be comfortable trying to pace the OTQ time. I'm not quite there yet.
I see it coming.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time at this point.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, we won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much for coming on. What is your...
We didn't tell people where he's coming from. Ben is doing this from a parking lot in a car, so this is pretty amazing.
At his real job that he has.
That's how much social influence.
But what is your next race? Do you have something lined up?
I'm signed up for Grandma's, but I do not have any lodging lined up, and there's no lodging available in Duluth, so I'm not positive if I'll make that one happen. Kind of did the same thing last year for Grandma's, and at the last minute, Kofuzi bailed me out, and I ran with him. He has confirmed that he will not be doing that for me this year, so still up in the air if I'm going to run Grandma's. And then I think the next one after that would be Berlin, would be the next marathon. So definitely going to try to get in shape and be ready to go for that one if the weather's good.
Awesome. Well, we'll all be cheering for you all the way to Berlin and excited to see you get that OTQ time.
Danke schön.
Thank you.
All right, Ben. Thank you so much again for coming on.
All right,
and we'll chat soon.